Hello there, folks. This is Malik, and welcome to another one of those interview things I tend to do. And as always, we have a very special guest in our midst. He's adapted scripts, he's voice directed for so many actors in the New York scene, he's written and developed several shows, and he was even creative director of 4Kids Entertainment, I believe, and he's been known to do a couple of voices here and there, maybe for some Pokemon that may or may not be extremely well known. But if you didn't know this stuff before, you will after this. It is an absolute honor to speak with industry pioneer Mr. Michael Haigney.
Wow, you are really overselling me, Malik. Believe me. Oh, my goodness.
No, really.
Thank you. That's very nice of you, though.
Oh, well, I just have to say, it is an honor to get to speak with you, and thank you for lowering your standards to get to speak with me today.
Oh, no. Let's see if you think it's an honor after we're done. Let's wait a while on that judgment.
Oh, well, I mean, there's so many places that we can start, of course, but, let's see, I got, a bunch of stuff here, but why don't you tell the people just a little bit more about yourself, the things that I didn't already say?
Well, oh my gosh. Well, I have I have kind of a scaly scalp. Oh, no, you don't mean things like that. And there's a lot of scalp now. There's more scalp. Anyway, let's think. I started out as a child, as a comedian, disgraced comedian used to say. But I got a job at when I was in college as a CBS page. I went to Fordham University, and across the street practically was the CBS studios on 57th Street, West 57th Street.
Yeah.
By sheer luck, my whole career, I don't like to call it career. I mean, it's a bunch of jobs that I've had. Career sounds too impressive. So the bunch of jobs I've had, I lucked into that. I lucked into working with a director of game shows and specials, Mike Gargiulo, who sadly recently passed away. He was a grand old man of television at NBC and CBS, and he did tons of shows. He was the director of Password and $25,000 Pyramid and a ton of other shows, parades and New Year's shows. So I got to work on live events with Jerry Lee Lewis, all the way from Jerry Lee Lewis to Donny Osmond to Gladys Knight and the Pips, and then from there, an old page buddy of mine. Well, anyway, this is too much. Anyway,
that's awesome.
I finally got to. We worked for a syndicator. We did tons of movie promos, and as I was mentioning just before we started, with a lot of really classic, great voiceover artists, and doing those kind of, we called them trailers. They were really commercials for movie packages. And then I started doing for a syndication company, Select Media. They were moving from these little interstitial things into TV series. So I did a TV series, 3 2-hour specials called the Horror Hall of Fame, 1, 2, and 3. Mm-hmm. And they were Halloween specials that aired when the host was Robert Englund, who's known as Freddy Krueger. Ooh. And that was fun. We met a lot of people from there, and those were big shows with a big audience. We did them at Universal Studios. That was a lot of fun. And one of the director of the last special was Norman Grossfeld, with whom I had known from Select Media. And then skipping ahead, I had several detours, but skipping ahead, Norman became the president of 4Kids. I don't know if it was Productions at that time or 4Kids Inc. or whatever, but anyway, he was the one who brought me to Pokemon.
Oh, wow. So that's pretty cool. So actually, because I know Pokemon was done in the very beginning, it was done at Taj and Taj Productions.
Right.
So he brought you onto Pokemon, or was because you were already
okay?
Working
So
at
what
Taj
happened?
At this point?
Here's what happened. I worked with a guy for a long time, Mark Juris, who's still a very good friend of mine, and his brother Larry Juris had a music company. He did music for TV and stuff, and his basic business was to one of the things that he did, he scored like some budget movies and stuff like that. Yeah. But he also did. I know he had a big package of, there was something called Cartoon Express on
the USA Network?
USA Network, that's right.
Yeah.
Thank you. So what would happen is there was a guy who bought a big movie package of like Casper the Friendly Ghost, and he bought the package, and he wanted to strip off all the original music and put new music in. And what they would do, they put their name on the publishing and make money that way, because it didn't really cost USA anything. And so he would underwrite the stripping of the music and the creation of the new music, and then every time it played, he would get residuals, so that's how they get royalties or residuals. I think it's residuals in TV. Yeah. So anyway, so then I had done a show called with Mark Juris called Blade Warriors, which was like a competition. Remember American Gladiators? This was like American Gladiators on skates, and it was a syndicated competition. It was inline skates when inline skates was a big thing. And what we did was we had an announcer, but we did the games and then we post-announced it, and I, in a sense, wrote the ad libs for the hosts. I wrote, after watching the game back in New York, I wrote what the narration was, and he would read it. So Larry knew I did this, and he had gotten a job that said, they don't want to take the music off, but they want to take the dialogue off, and I know that you, meaning me, did that, and would you like to do that? And yes. And so I said yes, and that was a movie, to my recollection, was Gall Force, which was like a space anime movie.
Interesting.
So then that I think established, or he may have already had a relationship with, I think it was Central Park Media, which is a direct-to-video place that I don't know if it still exists or not. Anyway.
Oh no, it's long gone.
Okay, so and they did, and then that led to us doing Slayers, and so Larry was I don't think there was any music involved with that, and so Larry and I formed a partnership. His company was Taj, but we were partners in the anime revoicing business. So I would adapt the scripts and direct the actors and cast the actors, with Central Park's approval. There was another company too, Central Park Media. And,
there was what was it? Because I actually spoke to Larry Juris. I sent him an email when I was doing history of like the Pokemon dub.
Okay.
And he told me that Central Park Media and another studio called Enoki Films. Does that sound familiar?
Enoki. Yeah, there was a Mr. Enoki. There's another company. Anyway, I don't want to bog it down, your listeners. But anyway,
it's
cool. we did that, and so that's what happened. I was doing Slayers, and Eric Stewart was on Slayers, and let's think, Lisa Ortiz was on Slayers. I did some voices in Slayers. Anyway.
This is a very unusual piece. It seems to give off a strange aura, a power. And for this...
Will you take it?
I'll take it if I can take something else, too. I'll take this knife and I'll take your lives with it!
There you are! I take my eyes off you for a second and you start goofing off! Don't you uh-oh me! Now get back in that store and go to work, or I'll use that knife on you myself!
I'm coming, darling!
I guess a wife like that is stronger than a cursed knife.
And we did that at Buttons Sound,
yes.
which was a recording studio on, I think it was 45th Street in Manhattan. And so that was going well. And then one day this is my memory, and I have a podcast now called Original Pokeman, and you can find it wherever podcasts are listened to. Anyway, but what I say in the first episode of that is like, look, this is my memory of this, and I know that people have other memories, have other very strong recollections that may agree with mine, that may diverge from mine. And well, part of the reason that I'm doing the podcast is because I've heard, recently, within the last few years, became aware that there's so much stuff about Pokemon on the internet, and that people go to conventions and they talk and stuff. And I heard some things which I definitely know are untrue, as far as I'm concerned. So I thought, you know what? If they're putting their story out there, I'm not trying to say that they're liars or wrong, because I don't think that's true. I think everybody who's saying whatever they say about Pokemon or whatever it is, for the most part, are telling what they believe to be true. But I also know that people's memories morph and change, and as stories are told, they become either embellished or stripped down, and things are omitted naturally. And I the same way, I'm sure, but I'm not aware of it. So anyway, my recollection was that Norman Grossfeld, who I had known from this previous life in syndication, called one day and he said, hey, you do all these, and he knew that I was working on these adaptations because I stayed friendly with him. And he said, hey, I might have a job for you. It's a series from Japan, and it's these little creatures, these little monsters, and the kids control them and they battle and everything. And I said to him, hey, is that show, that series that sent all the kids in Japan to the hospital? Because at that time it was a big news story.
Oh yeah.
And in the U.S. too, because it was like an interest, it was a,
Yeah, it shook
and
the world.
he said, yeah, but we're not going to show that episode. And from my recollection, I said something like, well, send it over and we'll take a look at it. And to my recollection, Larry and I looked at it, or I looked at it. I don't even know if Larry looked at it. Maybe he did. But as I remember it, I say, you know what, Larry, I think, let's do it. But you better try to get as much money up as front as possible, because I don't think this is going to last past 13 episodes. I just don't. It's a kid and they do this thing in the anime. I don't know. I don't see how this is going to go in the American market.
Oh yeah.
So that's how wrong I was. I mean, the show's still going for various reasons, but
yeah.
So anyway, so that's what happened, and Larry and I had a partnership of doing that, and Larry would book all the talent, and keep the hours and arrange for the for buttons and everything, and he kept all the financial part of it, and then I would. I cast, we got in some actors that we knew, and we called around and got some other voices and stuff, the people who had worked for Central Park and for us on Slayers and other things. I did a series called This Is Greenwood. And so we started with the people that we knew, and then, other people were there. And then I would offer my choices. We would do a test and then offer them up to Norman. And then he, I presume, would also run them by the people at Nintendo. And so that's where we went. And then we started doing that at Buttons Sound. And we did that for the first season, I think, which I believe was 52 episodes. That's how I remember it. Don't hold me to that. And then after that, that was the time when it was a big change, because the equipment that you needed to record, for broadcast quality, places like Regent Sound in the Brill Building and Buttons and, it's huge boards and tens and maybe hundreds of thousands of, I don't know, of this equipment. It was becoming smaller, and it was becoming much more affordable, especially for the type of mixing that we were doing. We weren't the Dolby THX, with the 72 tracks or anything like that, recording voices and that kind of things and then mixing them back. So Larry decided that we should build a studio in Taj, and he was in charge of that, and he financed that and all that. So that's when we started to record it at Taj, because, the thing was that he was also doing other jobs. Jim Malone, who also worked for Taj, who then eventually directed on Pokemon, was also doing other titles for that. So Larry rightly figured that, hey, yeah, we're going to spend a lot of money, but we're going to be paying that money. Anyway, this is too technical, but anyway, so that's kind of thing. So he decided so he decided to leave Buttons, because we were paying money for Buttons, and we got a certain amount of money, which I don't remember, for each episode, to record and adapt the scripts and to do the voices. Taj paid, 4Kids paid the actors directly. That was, them, because, they were under contract to 4Kids.
Right.
Or some entity, legal entity that 4Kids had. I don't remember. I wasn't party to that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's what happened. And then it continued on at Taj until it didn't.
Yeah. But this is I love all of this, because this is like just history that people just don't know about. Like,
right.
For like the longest time, if you go to like various Pokemon Wikipedias and you try and look up like Taj Productions, everything is like a stub, because nobody knows like all the stories. So when I emailed Larry Juris just like last year, I filled out everything that I could that he told me. And like you said, the first season, like they decided to do it at Taj instead of Buttons. But
right.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing like other people talk about these stories, and yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, I love these.
I guess, I'm learning that there are a lot of people who are sort of interested in Pokemon, and there are some people who are really interested in Pokemon, like yourself, and I think that group is maybe a little bit larger. That's kind of one of the reasons why I started doing the podcast, Original Pokemon.
Yeah, because I loved when I heard that you were doing this as far back as maybe a year or two ago. I was like, oh my goodness, this is like what I've always wanted, like a pioneer from the Pokemon days, somebody to talk about their experiences, whether it is like 100% accurate to recollection of memory or not. I just want to hear them talk about like what they did on this show, talk about their friends, and maybe some interesting stories that we've never heard about.
Right.
And it's like it was a dream come true, and now I'm getting to speak with the person. Like,
well, I'm glad I'm a pioneer. I feel like I'm in a covered wagon or something. But as I make it clear, in the podcast, this is more like a memoir. This is how I remember it, and I understand that everybody is the star of their own story, and I think, and I certainly include myself, that people have a tendency to centralize their role. I was a cog in a machine. I certainly was not the biggest cog by any means.
Right.
But I wasn't the smallest either. I mean, and I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back. I was lucky. I lucked into all these jobs.
Right. And I've always heard, like, there is a quote from a voice actor where they say, like, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And
yeah, I'm not so sure I was prepared, but yeah, we learned. I learned to the extent that I did learn. I mean, as you know, the original dub was really vilified. The adaptation, I should say, and the dub was vilified by a lot of fans, especially hardcore anime fans. And and as I say in a podcast, I totally understand that. But it's funny to see now. I wasn't 100% aware of it because we were just at nose to the grindstone kind of thing. I've got very few letters and very little feedback. The internet was not a big thing back then. It wasn't as big, or I wasn't on it that much because I didn't have time. The show was really bearing down on us. It was on. You probably know better than I did. I think it premiered as a 5-day. I don't know if it premiered as a strip 5 days a week, but very quickly it went to 6 days a week. That's my recollection. I don't remember how quickly.
I just have to let my dog in my room. Sorry.
Go do it.
He's a little crazy. But to go back to the what you were saying about syndication, so again, I live in Canada, so we didn't. When Pokemon came here, it actually had. It was on a channel called YTV where it would just air like whenever, like it had a fixed thing on the schedule. But I know in America, like before it had a home on like Kids WB, it would air in syndication just wherever, whenever, like depending on if you lived in like California, it could be on at like 7:30 in the morning, or if you lived in like New York, it could be on like Fox at like 3 p.m. or something like that.
I'm sure I knew at the time when and where it was, not each individual station, but I know that at some point, and it was pretty early, that a lot of places were showing it twice a day, because I've recently talked to fans. I've started going to these conventions to sign, Funko Pop heads and things. And I've talked to fans and they say, I watched the show just before, and I never saw the end of the episodes because I had to leave for school and I always miss the last 5 minutes or whatever. And then they would get home and they would see it again at 4 o'clock or 3:30 or whatever time it was. Yeah. And but then I at some point, I know pretty early, I believe it was running 6 days a week, usually on Saturdays on the weekend, but some places Sunday. I can't remember now, but it was really,
you're right. Speaking of, I know you brought up a couple of different buildings, like the Brill building, and I heard you guys talk about like when you directed the first 3 movies, that you did them at like different studios throughout Manhattan. Do you remember which ones those were and like what it was like doing the movies?
The first movie I think was in the Brill building, and just to be clear, we got. I mean, I'm sure that virtually everybody here who's listening here knows. I mean, as I said, I was a cog in a big machine, and the movie came from Japan. It was a totally made movie, and what would happen was there was a guy, Paul Taylor, very nice guy, who worked at 4Kids, and his job was to translate the scripts from Japanese to English. Mm-hmm. And so I would get what they called a straight translation. I mean, a translation there's no such thing really, what they call get a literal translation. Well, it's always interpretive to some extent. I mean, if it's one word, depending on the language and the context, it's frequently just one meaning and that's it. But when you have sentences, there's nuances, and everyone is interpreting those based on how they're interpreting the character's attitude, what their knowledge of both languages is. I mean, that's it. And then my job was to adapt that to not only the lip flaps, how the actors put it in their mouths, which was a challenge, but also to kind of adapt it to the speech of each individual character, but also I felt it was also my job to adapt it so that there was a little bit more humor and more what would I call it? A little more flavor,
personal flair.
Flavor. I would say flavor to what I got, because I think when you do get a translation, you don't know what the translator has put in or left out. And I'm not knocking Paul in any way, but what I'm saying is the nuances of a language are very, very difficult to really truly translate, especially in this kind of a context in which you're talking about emotions and jokes that may be very localized, that either the translator decided not to put in or put in, but I have no way of adapting that kind of thing. So that was the job. That was the hard part of the job. And then at the beginning, I also was in the booth in the studio directing the voice actors and offering them up as casting. I wasn't the final casting decision. That was also always Norman and Nintendo. If there was a new major part, we would give them 3 or 4 or 5 voices of people that I thought would be good and that were available and that kind of thing, especially at the beginning. And then as it went on, we had sort of a cast that they would do as many roles as we could, because as I say in a podcast, it was better for us because we had people on whom we knew we could depend, because sometimes we didn't know if roles were going to last for 3 episodes or for 3 seasons. Certainly at the beginning. And so we wanted them to be around. And so there was that. And also that we knew a person would be on time. They'd be able to do it within a couple of 3 takes and that kind of thing. So the ability of the actors was also obviously, really important. And then how their voice sounded. So, and it was better for them because it was a more regular job. It wasn't, none of the actors was on a salary. Certainly when I was working there, it was an hourly gig. And so the more that we could give them, the more likely they would be to hang around, and it was better for them and better for us, and everybody would be happier.
Yeah, definitely. So speaking of going off of that, I know you talked about choosing certain actors for certain roles, and obviously there's a case of what you said, they sounded good and we could depend on them, but do you have any personal recollections of friends or friends of friends where you saw them do something unrelated to Pokemon and said, you know what, this person might be good for this thing I've got?
I did, but that's specific. Well, 2 things. Megan Hollingshead, whom I had just seen for the first time in many years. She was Nurse Joy,
right?
And she had worked with the woman that I was dating at that time, to whom I am now married.
Wow.
Happily for me, at least. You have to ask her. And Megan, had acted and done some things, and so Kate said, and I said, oh yeah, let's give her an audition, and she was really good, and so and then now she's had a career after that. On occasion, there have been people, yes, not so much on Pokemon, but on other things that have tried and haven't really, cut it. I remember one time I was in an elevator at 4Kids, and there was a girl who was talking to her friend, young woman, and she had like a total cartoon voice. A lot of people can put on a cartoon voice.
Yeah.
And it can work. People accept a lot of things, but this woman, it's like, wow, if you can just read. And so I gave her my card. I think she thought I was an old term, a masher or something. I never heard from her. But I always thought that's the one that pops to mind. It's like, oh my gosh, she has a perfect cartoon voice. Maybe she was insulted by that, but I said, come up and or give me a call and would love to audition you. Oh yeah, I've heard that before. But this was way before all that stuff. Well, it was going on, but very few people talked about it. But anyway, I always thought, oh gosh, I wonder what happened to that woman. If she could have acted at all, she would have been great because she wouldn't have to talk. Some people, they're good actors and they can put on cartoony voices.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to do that a lot. Yeah. I mean, and some people are super versatile and some people do a couple of things really well. It's like anything. Is people have different skills, talents, abilities, and tolerances for things, I guess.
Right.
I'll tell you, it was more with writers that was like, I knew people and they found out what I would do, or I tell them, I'd say, I'm a writer, I'd love to write it, or I got a friend or something. I was like, yeah, I'll give you, especially, after we started getting deeper into, I guess it was the first season, but certainly by the second season, that I couldn't keep up with all the duties. I couldn't keep up with the script writing and the directing. And that's when mostly Jim Malone took over, because I felt, to get the scripts tight, that would really make everything go much better. That's the scripting, because by that time, not to put Jim's contribution down, but by that time the main actors at the very least, knew how to do these characters. Sometimes they drift off the voice, like anybody get tired. You're working for a few hours. That's a lot. That's a lot of the job. But there were writers that said, I want to do. I saw this. Yeah, it's like, and I know that some of them thought like, this is like a knucklehead show. But the thing is, and I'm not saying I have great talent. Believe me, I'm not saying that.
Oh, come on.
I mean,
you're selling yourself short.
I secretly believe it, but I can't say that. But seriously, I always felt that this was a specific, I wouldn't say ability. That might be going. It's a specific craft, and the thing is, there were some people who were very talented writers, and they tried one, and there's like, the first time you do anything, it's not going to be good anyway, but it's not going to be your best thing anyway.
Yeah.
And nobody that I remember hit a total home run, including myself, maybe especially myself. But they would say like, this is just not for me, because it's like a straitjacket. If you're writing a play or a thing, it's like, hey, or even if someone gives you the characters, you're trying to do a spec script, say for a sitcom or something, or drama, or whatever. You've seen the whole thing. You know what the actors are. You know who the characters are. You know what the settings are. And then if you want the person to speak for 10 seconds or 30 seconds, you can do it. But here, it's not only times, but to flaps that were very challenging. And sometimes the Japanese would have lines and there were no flaps, or flaps and no line. So it was just, I had already done it a lot. So I was used to what it was. But someone coming in, it's like, no, this is not for me.
Right. But I also know that you've also dabbled in songwriting as well. Do you remember? I don't know if you know where this is going, but do you remember?
I know exactly where it's going.
Who's that Pokemon at the Pokemon Christmas Bash? Who's that Pokemon?
It's Brock.
Misty and Ash.
Who's that Pokemon?
Team Rocket's having a blast.
Who's that Pokemon?
Happy holidays from the Pokemon cast.
I think as far as Pokemon is concerned, that was my favorite thing.
Yeah.
To work on. I mean, people say, how about the movies? But, the movies were extra long episodes, not putting them down. And it was great. I remember the first movie, it had its premiere in California at Grauman's. It was Grauman's Chinese Theater then, I think, or maybe Mann's Chinese Theater. Totally packed. I mean, that's a big theater. I don't know if you've been. It's big. And a couple of rows ahead of us was David Hasselhoff and a couple of his kids. And when that 4Kids logo came on and the ball, the Pokeball popped, it was like a big cheer. And that was also the first time that I ever saw, a few minutes into the movie, an usher comes down the aisle.
Yeah.
and pulls a guy out. He was videotaping the movie the very first time. You know, when they would pirate that, you know, you would get those here in Canal Street in Manhattan, at least in New York. You know, the movie would open, and then a few days later you'd see it, you know, in this grainy kind of clamshell and whatever. So, and I threw the guy out. But that was exciting. But the thing about the Pokemon Christmas Bash, Pokemon Christmas Bash was the name of the album, right?
Yes, that's the name of the album.
Here is my memory, and I've heard other memories. My memory was that I had the idea to do this album and brought it to Norman because my original idea, as I remember it, was to do a musical of a Christmas musical, because I had always watched all those like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and all those Rankin and Bass shows. Yeah. And there were also these things which I had never really listened to, but I was aware of, were these albums like Yogi Bear's Special Christmas with Snagglepuss and or, you know, the Flintstones meet the Jetsons at Christmas. And, you know, they had all these albums that would be on, you know, red and green vinyl or whatever, you know, and I thought that was a great idea. And I knew that there was no way that, you know, to write a whole script and try to convince Nintendo to do a Pokemon Christmas movie. That would be millions of dollars or whatever. But I thought,
not happening.
Not happening. But here's the thing. You know, it's like a podcast. You get a mic, you get a couple of people in there. It's not that expensive. Write the script. And I have all the actors, and this would be a great idea. And I pitched it to Norman, and he said, yeah, go ahead and do it. Now, he also Eric, I've heard remember different things. Eric wrote, I think, one song on it, which is called a Pokemon Christmas Bash, right? Is it or no?
Maybe, because I actually looked at the, you were about to sing the Who's That Pokemon at the Christmas Bash, right?
Right.
Oh, wait, no, because... I looked at the discography of this, and you, alongside Larry Juris, are credited for writing half of the songs on this that aren't like... There are 2 songs from other places.
Right,
Must Be Santa and like a Christmas medley. Oh, wait, no, something else.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I did I'm Giving Santa Pikachu for Christmas.
Yep.
There was I Keep My Home in My Heart.
Yep.
There was... the medley with little snippets, but with Pokemon things. Yep. And Winter is the Coolest Time of Year.
And you also did Nobody Don't Like Christmas, which is the song sung by Meow. Don't like
that's right.
Christmas.
So my idea was to do this, but you know what? Then Norman wanted to include Jim because Jim was a musician and played at different gigs, and Eric, was also a musician playing with the band, and he wanted to incorporate them into it as well. Yeah. Now, so that is my recollection of it, and I kind of ran out of ideas and time, as I think, of like, how was I going to structure this musical? How was I going to, like, because it was going to be dialogue and then songs, that was the idea originally, but then that transformed into what it became, and then I stuck in, because it wanted to be longer, Who's Got a Beard That's Santa's Got a Beard That's Not, like that one. And then it's like a sing-along karaoke to blend it out. So I would have liked to keep it, to have done it the way I thought, if I had had time and talent and temperament to do it, but those other things. Now, Eric and Norman and Jim Malone and Larry may have different memories of that. Cathcart was involved with that too, quite a bit, because he was a music guy. And so, but that was the story of that. But I really liked that because I liked the songs, and I like to have the original performers performing the songs. I don't think I've ever gotten any royalties from it. A couple of years ago, Larry contacted me and tried to find some, but it was we didn't get anything. So, but you know what? I'm okay with that.
Wow, that's cool. But yeah, I have to say, the Pokemon Christmas Bash was something that I didn't personally know about until maybe like the mid-2010s, and then I found it, and then as the years have gone by, people have really like gravitated towards it and have had like positive things to say. Even like I know like the most grizzled, cynical dude on the face of the planet, but he said like the songs like Meowth's song and like the Under the Mistletoe song, he said like these are actually well-produced Christmas songs. If you got rid of all the Pokemon references, you could throw these on at a Christmas party and nobody would know the difference.
That makes me feel good. That
you
makes me
guys
fil
did a
good.
great
And it
job.
makes Jim and Eric feel good too. I think they did a great job on what they did too.
Oh,
I like
yeah.
mine better, but no, I don't mean that. I mean, just but it was. I liked doing that, and yeah. Anyway, so that was that.
But yeah, because I even myself, I've wanted to like I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I've wanted to do like a remake of the Christmas Bash album and call it like Pokemon Christmas Rebashed or something. And because I already sang like one year, I just sang Meowth's Nobody Don't Like Christmas song because people tell me I have a pretty half decent impression of Maddie Blaustein's Meowth. But I mean, you be the judge of that. I mean, you know, and it was a lot of fun to do. So I was like,
Sure,
what if
of
I
course.
What if I did the
Oh,
rest
that's
of
funny.
the songs? Like, I know a guy who does music. I know a couple of other people. I could play most of the male characters. I need someone to play Jesse and maybe find some professional mixer and someone to make new instrumentals.
I'd love you to do it because maybe I can finally get a royalty.
It's
So
funny.
go for it.
Yeah,
Go
because
for it.
I got when I did the song for Meowth's song, I got copyright claimed by one of the record companies, even though I used like a fan made instrumental for like the backing
yeah.
music. But
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
this
yeah.
is that's crazy. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love to do it someday.
Yeah, do it.
There was the last thing about the album, because there was a couple of things like on the disc where it said like arranged for things like two production companies like Wild Twin Productions and Little Bighorn Productions. Do you know anything about those guys?
Yeah, yes. I believe that my recollection is that Wild Twin is Carter.
Ah.
And Little Bighorn was Jim Malone.
Yes. They were both credited whenever they did the arrangements. They were like arranged by Carter Cathcart for Wild Twin or Little Bighorn for Jim Malone. Yeah. That's their own little record labels, right? Or something like that?
Their own publishing company or production company, yeah.
Interesting.
I guess production company.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, yeah.
So when it came to your voice acting alongside Pokemon, the first thing I will say is I think you went under a pseudonym of Roger K. Is that correct?
Yes, because I my name was on the credits as director.
Yeah.
And the thing on the credits, because now I'm looking back at it, because I never watched the show on the air.
Right.
But so now I'm seeing the credits, and I don't know if we ever mixed the credits, or the credits were they mixed them once and then they put them on at 4Kids. They had a little editing station there. I can't remember, but I never really, because it was always the same. So I didn't listen through them each time.
Right.
I was dealing with the animated version, non-musical. I mean, had underscore, but just the story part of the show. What was your question? Rainlock.
So yeah, just the name Roger K.
Yeah.
I know some.
So the thing was, I know,
from.
right? Yeah. So I knew my name was as the adapter. It wasn't a writer. I mean, it was writing, but it was adapting the scripts and directing the episodes. And I just thought, I don't want to put my name on it again. So Roger K. That was my parents' first names. My mom was Catherine. They called her Kay. My father's first name was Roger, so that's why it was Roger K.
Interesting. Yeah, it's always interesting to see where like certain pseudonyms for certain people come from. And sometimes like, this is just the name of like a pizza place that I went to, or this is
right,
the name of a friend I know, or a street or something like that. So it makes me
some
think.
Gag, play on, private joke or something.
There are a few from like later 4Kids productions where I look at the names. I've seen weird pseudonyms like Papa Dukes and Rah Rah and Chunky Mon. They're like, who are these people?
Yeah. I've worked on a couple of shows. I won't mention any names, but of actors who wanted to be billed as certain things that we had to say no to with their stage names or screen names that were just too you know. And there are even there's one out there, I won't mention who it is, that seems a little like on the edge. I don't know if I would have gone for that so much. But you know, you're in the room with the actor wants to be called something. You pretty much go with it, you know.
Oh, that's cool. I'm glad.
The only reason I would object is if it really seems, you know, like you're goofing on, like I don't know.
Yeah, like you're trying to slander somebody else's name or something. It's like, I know what you're trying to do here. That's a double
either that or
entendre.
trying to make a joke and you're distancing yourself and just kind of, I don't know, it's not my favorite thing.
Yeah, like I want my pseudonym to be Purple Nurple or something. It's like, no.
Yeah.
So you voiced a number of Pokemon during your time on the show, and a lot of those voices have become iconic in fans' minds, like Psyduck, Dugong, Coughing, etc.
Despite my performance, they've become iconic or ironic, maybe.
We'll get to that. But are there any interesting stories behind some of the voices you came up with, or how you decided to approach certain Pokemon? Because I know you have a story about Coughing, but is there any others too alongside that?
The short answer is no. You know, the thing is, it's a question, no, but the thing is that, you know, I wanted to adapt the show for an American audience, but when it came to the Pokemon, I felt that it was right. I mean, this is not some great artistic decision. I mean, this is kind of a no-brainer. I wanted to stay, you know, fairly close to what the Japanese did. It wasn't always, you know, it wasn't always like a
one-to-one.
Yeah, it wasn't always, I don't want to say easy, but it wasn't always so simple, because if they said something, a name of a Pokemon, I can't think of an example right now, but that was much different. But you know what, the thing what we tried to do was to try to stay as close to either the sound or the spirit of the character that was in Japanese, because I didn't see any reason to change that. You know, it's, you know, and some of them, there are some, I was working on episode 5. It's only taken me, you know, 2.5 years to actually get to episode 5. I'm trying to pump out one a week now, you know, to coincide with however many episodes I was involved with it, at least adapting the scripts. Right. And I don't even know how many that is yet. I'm just kind of going one by one, but I was looking back, and some of the voices we left were on the effects track, I think. We had a music and effects track. I go into this a little bit in the podcast, but anyway, some of them were just like a roar or a grunt or something, and we generally tended to leave those as they were, because there was no reason to change them.
Because I know for like big Pokemon, like, I don't know, Charizard, or more animalistic like Pokemon,
like Onyx,
they were usually left alone in those cases. And I know with Psyduck, because you said on the commentary for the first movie, like years and years ago, which I have on DVD.
I have never seen it. I don't want to see myself. I see myself in the mirror enough.
Oh, no, it's just audio only. But
oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's you and...
Oh, that's right. But there is someplace a clip. Because I see this one picture of me with my mouth in a very weird position, and I look at that. It's kind of a grainy video, freeze frame. And I just look, every time I see that, I wish I had that sweater back, because I really liked the sweater I was wearing. That was at the Brill Building. That was during the first, and I wish I could remember, was his name Pete? He was a great guy. He lived up in Tuxedo, New York, and he was the engineer for that. And it was really great. Oh, it was a big room where they did major movies and everything. And but anyway, somebody came and did a little video. But anyway.
A lot of people have been very surprised to see the actors who are doing the characters on Pokemon. And you can never really tell from what a person looks like what character they might play on the series. For example, the actor who plays Psyduck, I don't think looks very much like Psyduck, but maybe I'm wrong.
That came from a VHS tape for Pokemon 3, the movie, I believe.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. And
Pokemon
you were talking about
3?
It's a video.
Well, now see, there's my memory that's wrong, because I know that we did one of the movies in the Brill Building.
Yeah.
We did one of the movies, and that was the one with where they were on the ship, where she was the ship's captain, and
that's the second movie, I believe, where they're like going from island to island, and there's the big Pokemon Lugia.
Yeah, that's Lugia. And that was way downtown. on maybe West Houston, and David was he was a great guy too. And then the third movie, I'm sure if I looked at the end credits, it would say where we did it and who the engineers were, so I could figure it out.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, that's where the footage comes from, like a little sneak peek into Pokemon from like 2001, and they.
Oh, maybe 4Kids made that because, yeah, I think maybe, I don't know. Maybe 4Kids made that because Norman used to send out, it was Toys R Us was around, I think, at least in the first years. Remember, there was the Fox Box or 4Kids or something. He would send out discs and it would preview what the shows were coming up. That was a few years later, I think.
Yeah, this was just like a Pokemon thing, but I'm pretty sure 4Kids did it because, let's see, Andrew Rannells, the Broadway dude now, he was the host of that VHS tape, and it showed behind the scenes of like Pokemon Live and what was coming with Pokemon 3 and the video games. But yeah, I'm sure
I didn't
4Kids
realize
had
that
something
Andrew
with
was
that.
in it that early.
Oh yeah, he was in Pokemon from like maybe, let's see, 2001 up until the very end of 4Kids' time with Pokemon. He played like various characters throughout the 4Kids run.
I worked with Andrew, and I guess it was
Sonic X, maybe?
No, it was I think it was Kirby.
Yeah, Kirby. He worked on that one too.
Kirby, right back at you. He was a nice guy, really talented guy, very nice guy. Andrew was great.
I'm like rewatching Shaman King. I don't think you worked on that one, but are you familiar with that one? That was
I know that it was done.
Yeah, it was done at 4Kids, but yeah, Andrew Rannells is one of the main characters in there, and it's like, wow, that's crazy to imagine like this big Broadway star doing all these crazy things, and he was just with 4Kids, like not even that long ago, but it's like, wow.
Yeah, I think
come a long way.
From what I've heard, Andrew feels the same way.
Going back to Psyduck real quick, because on the first movie's audio commentary, it's you and Norman J. Grossfeld, and you talk about how when you first saw Psyduck, you guys were just going to keep it. You weren't going to give it a voice because it just quacked. But then something along the lines, you decided to fill in for Psyduck, and I think Norman J. Grossfeld joked about because you guys have the same amount of hair on your head. That's what he said, not me.
Is that right? I have no memory of that.
Mike, what's your favorite Pokemon?
That's a tough decision. I have to be honest, and it's not just because I do the voice. I kind of like Psyduck. Psyduck has its own unique personality. Not that the others don't, but Psyduck is a constant worrier, a chronic headache sufferer, and
very much like you.
Very much like me. I don't get headaches. Well, I give them, but
and somewhere I guess Psyduck will be losing its hair.
Thanks. I hope that can be cut out of the.
If you ever find like Pokemon the first movie on DVD, like one of the original prints, they're not that hard to find, but your commentary is there, and there's a lot of crazy, fun stories in there.
Oh, good. I hope it's enjoyable. I think Norman and I did at least 2 of those, I think, or maybe just 2. I can't remember.
You and Norman did one for the first movie, not the second movie. You did one for
Is that really?
The third movie, and the fourth movie, it was you and a bunch of 4Kids voice actors like Veronica Taylor, Eric Stewart, Maddie Blaustein, and you guys talked throughout like the fourth movie commentary, but it stops like halfway through the film, but even then it's still really good stuff that you guys talked about.
You know, Celebi is the fourth movie, right?
Yeah, that's the fourth movie.
I think Jim did the voice directing on that. I think I just did this. I worked on the script.
Yeah.
Michael, you performed, I think, a dozen or so different Pokemon in your voice career.
Yes. Well, at the beginning of the series, we started doing it in a way not really knowing that much about the series. We knew that there were I think like 150 Pokemon. In an early episode, there was a new character, and it was Charmander. At the end of the session, all the major actors were done, and Charmander had to make some kind of a sound. Charmander's probably in this one episode, and we'll never see Charmander again. So I said, we had like a little time. I said, you know what, I'm just going to jump in, and I'll do a sound. And it was like, Char, like that.
It's
so
Charmander.
Charmander. Then, we got a script. Okay, now, Ash, and here's Charmander again. I thought, well, maybe Charmander's in a two-parter. And then it was Charmander for
long
like
time,
77 episodes, it seemed like.
So earlier, like I said, for this interview, I do a thing called Pokemonth, where like it's a whole month devoted to Pokemon, and this one is themed around Team Rocket. So,
Oh, good.
Yeah, it blows my mind learning like you voiced over half of Team Rocket's Pokemon in some form, at least during the original series, because I believe you've said you were Ekans, Coughing, you did Wheezing, and from Carter Cathcart, he has said that you have done Lickitung a lot of the times as well. Do you remember Lickitung?
Yeah, I do. Although I think it's a little pitched. You know, I'm just going through this because I was just at one of the only two in-person conventions that I've been to. It was down in Kentucky, and in the signing stuff. And next to me was Eric Stewart, and we each have like the company that puts us there has a banner with our picture and our name, and then pictures of the characters. And on the second day, he said, you got to talk to your agent. I said, what's the matter? He said, you have Blastoise on your banner, and I did Blastoise. And I said, and in fact, I'll deal with this on the podcast a little bit, but I spent hours yesterday, and he was just so sure of it. I said, while I was at the convention, I texted Ron London, who is in one of the first episodes of the podcast, because he basically recorded so many in the early times of he was there for all of the recording sessions, virtually all of them.
Right.
Maybe all of them. And I said, Eric says he did Blastoise, but I think I did. Do you remember? And he said he listened back and he thought it was me. But maybe if Eric had said, Ron was being nice, maybe. So yesterday I went back and I everything's on the internet. And there's so much Pokemon stuff on the internet. And I went back and there's clips of Blastoise, and then I went to the original first episode of Blastoise, but because it was pitched and processed, what I did was I kind of reverse engineered it and pitched it up and tried to, and I'm not sure anymore. What I think.
Blastoise, I choose you!
Blastoise. Blast.
You were right about Blastoise! Told ya.
Blastoise.
I don't doubt that after I left, and maybe even while I was involved with the show, but maybe not directing it, that Eric did do the voice. I'm not saying he's wrong or he's lying. Absolutely not. But I hear my voice in there too, and I just remember. I remember doing it, but a lot of people remember things that aren't. Eyewitnesses are notoriously unreliable. I spent. Everything that was said in there when the days I was directing, I was there for it. And a couple of years ago, who was that? Brian Williams. Remember, he was vilified. He had said on the air that he was in these planes over in the Mideast, and he had been attacked, and they were shooting at him. And then the pilot came out, and he said, no, he was in the plane, but nobody was shooting at us. And always, oh, what a liar! He's blowing himself up. He said, but I listened to psychologists. It's a real thing that it's not that he's lying, but it's not that it was true. It's just over time, these memories. It's not that you just that you're just remembering them.
Yeah,
I think
they get
you're
warped.
also creating them. And you're not necessarily doing it intentionally. And I'm saying this about me, and I could swear that I did Blastoise, and I hear it, but I took it off the banner. I told the agent, take it off the banner. I don't want to make Eric. But then I did a little more digging, and I think a lot of the actors have done a lot of the characters at different times, and that goes for me too. I filled in certain things, but I thought I was the original Blastoise, and I don't know if I was or not. Maybe he was Gary's Blast. There's different things.
Blastoise, Go Bash, let's go!
Blastoise. Blast.
Rapid spin now!
Blastoise. Blastoise.
Hydro pump!
Blastoise.
But there is quite a bit of information on the internet, as I'm sure you know, which I'm just really learning. Not all of it is true. I was not born in Norcross, Georgia in 1966. That sounds nice, but I wasn't. Shaved 10 years off my age. I wouldn't mind that, I guess. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, so now I'm very wary. Now I'm starting to second guess. I could swear I know I did this. And even when other people say I did, it's not that I think they're lying. I'm not sure everybody remembers or if they filled in or I don't know.
No,
but
I
that's
think
why
that's
I'm trying
true.
I'm in the podcast. I'm being as truthful as possible. I'm being as honest as possible, but I may accidentally not be truthful.
Right.
So,
but I think you're being truthful, because I think certain Pokemon, depending on, I guess, who was available, they try to keep it consistent with a lot of Pokemon, but I can tell, like, I know,
oh yeah, they're fillings.
like Eric Stewart, I can tell, like, his voice is like somewhere in this range.
There's like a timbre of his voice that's very
And it's
that's distinctive.
Yeah, when you hear Blastoise in like later 4Kids episodes, you can tell that's Eric Stewart, because it's like, that sounds like Brock or something like that. But in earlier episodes,
hey, that's
yeah,
really good.
It's like Blastoise. It's like, yeah, okay, that's Eric Stewart.
And mine is Blastoise. It's different. It's similar, but it's different. And I swear I heard both, but if I didn't feel that it was all me, at least at the beginning, or substantially me, then I don't want to say it. But if somebody wants me to sign a Blastoise, I'll still do it.
Good. Because I know there's another Pokemon that you and Eric actually shared. I mean, Eric Stewart said he never played a Pokemon called Wheezing, which is the evolved form of coughing, but I know that he did, like, later, way after, like, you were gone from Pokemon.
So, watch and learn. Wheezing, use sludge attack now. Wheezing!
But for Wheezing, in its earliest instances in the first season, Wheezing only had one voice clip, and it was really...
And we used it all the time.
Well,
that was another thing.
And coughing is now wheezing. Wheezing smart.
Yeah, well, the thing is, that also was a function of time and money, because, after a certain point, Ron had built up a sort of a library of Pokemon voices that we could use, and it would save time. It wouldn't be studio recording time, so we would record the things. I said, okay, just plug it in to this because it's and I had done that a million times. Then he could edit that, and he would have a sad sigh and then a sigh, so he would have them, and then he could plug them in. Now maybe we did that a little too much. You're vaguely I'm inferring it. I don't know if you're implying it.
I actually have a clip from a video example where Wheezing uses one voice clip in one instance. I think if I share my screen, I could do that if you'd like to see it.
I would love to see that.
Okay,
let's see. Wheezing.
That's it.
That's basically it. Yeah, right?
Yeah. So let me see.
But, we pitched a lot of these things either up or down depending on that. So, that's why sometimes when I do the voices for somebody, it's like, is that really the voice? Well, yeah, but if it, 5 semitones, 3 semitones up or whatever, then it really sounds like even Charmander. I think we did pitch Charmander, and my aging vocal cords are, it's taking a toll.
That's pretty good. That's still pretty. That sounds like how I remember it, and I remember it pretty well. But let me share.
It was a little bit different. I just heard it recently.
Lickitung was definitely pitched up. Yeah. Lickitung only used
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get them, Wheezing! Wheezing poison gas attack!
Bulbasaur, fine whip!
So did you notice how it kept going up in pitch?
What episode is that? Do you have any idea?
That is episode 40, The Song of Jigglypuff. And
Jigglypuff.
Yeah. And when I heard that on a rewatch maybe a few years ago, and I heard Wheezing's voice get
it was a little tough to hear, but it probably was. I don't know. Was it? Yeah, Wheezing was in it a fair amount, I think, in the early episodes. Was he or?
Yes, yeah. Wheezing was around way up until like season 6, like when Pokemon was already at 4Kids full time. But in the first season only, Wheezing just used that one voice clip. But as with season 2, it had a few more. So did like Bulbasaur.
Or maybe just that I kept doing it, but my performance was just so consistent that it seemed like
sure,
nah,
why not?
Nah, that couldn't have been.
Same with Lickitung, actually, because it only had like 2 voice clips it ever used. But Lickitung wasn't around a lot anyway, so
There wasn't a lot of Lickitung didn't have wasn't very didn't have a lot of depth, I don't think, to the character.
Lickitung was around.
There was length of the tongue, but not depth.
Yeah, there was length to the tongue, but not to the character. It was around for 98 episodes, but it only showed up. It only showed up in 17 of those. So yeah, Lickitung did not
your
have a big
Pokemon.
presence.
Tackle now!
That's the thing. It's like a lot of people know a lot more about Pokemon than I do. You know, from the inside out is a lot different than the outside in, because you're spending so much time on these things, and then it's on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. Whereas fans can look and relook at things. It's a different thing. You know, it's not, one's not better or worse, but it's just a totally different perspective.
Right.
You know. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes I think, especially, you know, when I started doing this thing, you know, people are like, "Oh, it must have been so great, whatever." And you know, a lot of things looking back are great, but it was a lot of work. I'm not complaining. I mean, I was super lucky. I mean, to luck into a show like Pokemon that everybody knows what Pokemon is, you know, that's great. I mean, it's better than, you know, a show, I guess, that nobody knows, but the process is still the same. If somebody, you know, you're doing a show in the basement that only your mom sees, or you're doing, you know, the #1 show on Netflix, the process is still the same.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think, you know, if somebody is really like, you know, you have a 7-Eleven fan club that people are obsessed with 7-Eleven, and then you get
exists.
yeah, it probably does. And you have a guy. So when you make the Slurpee, do you ever feel that? And the guy is like, well, you know, we just pour the stuff in the top and the machine kind of just frees itself.
Yeah.
But what happens when it doesn't? Well, yeah, it breaks. And it's not like that they don't want that person to be interested in it. It's just that when you're working on the Slurpee machine, it's a much different thing. It's like, yeah, I was just trying to get the Coke actually to freeze with the syrup.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it was like in Pokemon, you know, but it depends on how you consume it and what your perspective is, that what your interest level is. Yeah, maybe I'm not exactly conveying what I want to say, but yeah, it's kind of like
get
that.
It, yeah. But yeah, like, again,
I'm not putting it down. It's just like everybody's interested in what they're interested in. And I don't, you know, sometimes I see, you know, people like at the conventions, it's like, oh my gosh, they're really into this. But the thing is, if you saw the same people at a sports, I saw a comedian on TikTok recently. It's like, sports are weird because, like, where do you go to that person's place of business and then dress up like them? Mm-hmm. And that happens at every sports stadium. You have guys going in there with shirts with the players' names on them and logos and everything. It's like, is that less weird than someone dressing up like Nurse Joy and coming to a convention? No, it isn't. So. I don't think it is. You know, and so it's just what you're interested in.
Yeah, it's all about the passion. I love seeing people being so passionate about it.
Yeah, and it really, you know, I think Pokemon, I mean, I know now from speaking, and I've just been to a few of these things and gotten a few emails, you know. Mm-hmm. But it was now the people coming their age are in their 30s or even, you know, a little bit older, and younger too. I mean, it's like, because now everybody can watch everything all at once. Yeah. You know, it really had I had people come up to me in Kentucky and there's like, you know, I would rush home to see that, and I just started watching all the episodes again, and it brings back, it's like a huge emotional touchstone for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And it's good, and it's a nice feeling to know that I was part of that. I know some people didn't like the things that I did, but some people do, and I'm neither is wrong or right. I mean, it's just, I'm glad that I was part of something that meant a lot to people. That's a nice feeling. I mean, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, I appreciate, like, again, I'm trying to get into the field of, like, I'm in the field of entertainment, and like, I'd like to do voiceover and adaptations, and I have so much appreciation for what guys like you did. And it's like, sure, it's not 100% accurate, but as its own thing, I just love it. And I love, like, hearing, like, all these little jokes and, like, isms of the people who put this together. And it's like, I get a little piece, a little nugget of, like, who is behind this and what are they all about? And it's like I can't knock somebody for like adding in a joke that they thought was funny.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
I do the same thing too.
Two quick things. You know what? You're saying you want to get into it. You're in it. You're doing it.
I believe so.
You have a
yeah.
platform, and you're all over the world, right?
Yeah.
Anybody in the world who has a computer and a connection can tell. And I think that's great. I think that's it. So you're in it. And the other thing is that it was what it was, and some people don't like it. But what I'm trying to do in the podcast, Original Pokemon, the thing is, even with the podcast, like if 5 people listen to it or 500,000 people listen to it, I think that's unlikely. But it's still, I'm doing it for one person. I'm doing it. I try to always think, just like with Pokemon. I remember one time saying to one of the people working there, I said, you know what? We would do retakes sometimes, and I know that it's tiring to do things, and I'm not saying that I was this purist or anything. I'm not trying to be self-aggrandizing, but I would think of when I was a kid, I loved the local TV shows that they had in New York, and they had live hosts, but it was kind of a different thing. But I knew a lot of kids go home by themselves, and they go there and they turn on the TV, and I knew, because it was so popular, that this was the high point of thousands and thousands of kids' lives, days. I don't want to say lives, that's too much. but when you're a young kid, it's like, wow, I can't wait to see what the new Pokemon is. Yeah. And so we wanted to do the best job that I could. I'm not sure I always did a great job. I'm not even sure I always did the best I could, but I really tried for that. And it's nice to know that people, I don't want to even say appreciate it. That's not even important, but it's just that it was an important and pleasant part of their young lives, and that is a good memory in their later lives too.
Yeah, like that's all you can really do, and I'm
it was just luck. Yeah.
I'm appreciative of the things that you guys did, even if you think that not everything was like 100. The fact that you guys tried your best is really all that matters, and it's like I can't knock that.
The flip side of that is me appreciating the people who watched, because if nobody watched, I wouldn't have had a job, So that's a total two-way street, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, because I mean, again, like you said, I have my own platform, and I write the script. I write scripts for videos. I work with people and get like voiceover things done for them, and like add my own little jokes in there. And sometimes I think nobody is watching, but like I do it for me, and I do, and
doesn't matter.
I try
doesn't
to make
matter. It does not matter. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I think that's great. That's the way. That's why I'm doing the podcast too. It doesn't matter if nobody listens. I mean, I'm not sure if I'll get to all. I don't remember how many episodes I actually worked on. Because the way they did the credits, they would do them periodically, so that people who are listed on a specific show say it's possible, and even likely in some cases, that they never worked on that show. So they just did like credits. They didn't do individual credits for individual episodes, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you'll see a lot of different writers on one episode, and maybe only one of those people actually worked on that episode.
Right.
But they may have worked on an episode that was in that period that they used those credits.
Yeah.
So that can be misleading too,
Definitely. Oh, I forgot. I need to talk about the character Blaine, because he was like the only major human character that you played on Pokemon, but I say he always left a good impression. Do you remember Blaine at all?
I just happened to look at Blaine because I was trying to verify this list of Pokemon voices that I did. And I went back and, I thought maybe at the next convention somebody's going to ask me to do the voice, and I got to kind of remember what it was, because it was 25 years ago.
Yeah,
the American series, well, we were doing, right, exactly. It's next year, I think, is the 25th anniversary of the American version.
Yeah.
And I went back, but, Blaine, I had not remembered this. Blaine is a two-parter.
Yes.
It's a 2-part episode. And, in the first part, he's like, he has a wig, and he has, he's disguised.
Yeah.
He has, I think, a big mustache. And then he whips off the thing, I am Blaine, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, I'm not 100% sure that I was Blaine in both episodes.
I think you were.
You think so? You think that first voice is me?
See, kids, because of the volcano, there are lots of hot springs here on Cinnabar Island. And every year, more and more tourists come to visit them. Now they've even taken over Cinnabar Island. Trainers don't come anymore. Tourists! They've ruined the island!
Is the Pokemon gym still here? I have to earn that volcano badge.
Maybe because he talks like it's been a teensy bit since I've seen that
Yeah,
episode,
I'm
but
sure.
I think he talks like with a cool, like
it's kinda
suave.
like that.
I think so. I think you guys would make sure that Blaine would have had the same voice actor between 2 episodes.
I don't know. You know, sometimes things happened, as I'm sure you know, like in the original, in the first episodes, Ted Lewis was cast as James.
Right.
And then, I don't know if you've talked to Ted, but I can't remember. I think he got like a summer stock job and he went away, and then we knew he was going to be away for a while, and we had to keep going with the series. You know, sometimes when people would go on vacation or get other jobs, we could wait. We could either stockpile if I had scripts. Oh my gosh, the script situation. You talk to Veronica Taylor stuff. When we were at Taj, like they would be waiting for lines, and I would write sometimes just the lines for one character.
Really?
And then go back and write, because I didn't have time. I was always trying to catch up. And sometimes you do like a punchline of a joke, but I didn't like figure out the setup yet. I mean, that would happen a lot. And at that time, Larry would be calling me, can you fax page 20? They're already catching up. They're already done. They're waiting for you. And so I would fax stuff, from home. It was quite a process. And I know that they hated that. Rightly so. I mean, rightly so. But anyway, but what, as far as Blaine is concerned, it could have been that somebody started it and then we didn't know. I mean, I guess I would have known it was a 2-part. I don't know. I don't remember. Once I see the episode again and watch the full thing, maybe somebody will write to me and tell me what it was, or I'll remember, But I'm not sure about that first part of that voice. Now since the Blastoise things, I'm doubting everything. Maybe not rightly, but now I'm like, is that real? I thought I was Magby. I thought it was Magmar. Eric says he was. I could swear Magby. Magmar is Magby. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you were Magby. Yeah, you were Magby. You might have been Magmar at some point. But
I don't know.
Yeah, but what was it about Blaine? Because I was speaking about jokes. Like, again, there was a joke. Blaine's whole thing was about like riddles and double meanings. And
there was a
like
joke
that.
about something about his hair or something. When it's on, it's off, or something. I can't remember.
Something like that.
It's not a hat, but it keeps your head dry. If you wear it, it's only because you already lost it.
It's a wig.
And Misty's done it again.
Wig is correct.
It's a wig.
You get it? I wear a wig because I'm really Blaine, the gym master.
Why didn't we think of that?
I should have guessed it.
Now, who wants to battle me 3-on-3?
There was one joke where like the volcano that he was in was erupting, and then he comes out and he's like, I was just in the lavatory when I heard a noise. Of course, since we're in a volcano, every room is a lavatory.
I was on my way to the lavatory when I heard all the noise. Of course, in a volcano, every room is a lavatory. Get it?
Now I see how you come up with those riddles.
And that killed me.
that was but that kind of thing is, as you know, because you know more about Pokemon than I do, I am positive. The thing is that those are the type of things that that people who really like, I only want to watch the English subs. I don't want to, I hate all the jokes and they changed everything. and I, as I say in a podcast, Original Pokemon, I totally understand that. I'm not saying they're wrong. It's like saying you're wrong because, you put ketchup on a hot dog.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in that instance, you are wrong. You should never put ketchup on a hot dog. It should
How
always
dare
be
you?
mustard. But that was a bad example. But in this case, I understand that. But I always felt that my job was to adapt it for the American audience. And in this upcoming, in episode 5 of the podcast, I come up with, I'm going to do a terrible teaser here now, of a situation that I think sounds like I did something, but it was basically impossible for me to not do something. And I always ask whoever is listening, if there is anyone listening, hey, here's what happened, here's what I did, here's why I did it. I'm not saying it's great. Tell me what you think you would have done. I don't know. I'm not saying it in a belligerent way. I'm saying, if you have a better idea, tell me what it was, because I see things like, ooh, I shouldn't have done that, or why did I do that? Or sometimes I know why, but still it wasn't, that kind of thing. But that's the way it was.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I again, like I've said it before, but yeah, I'm not gonna knock anybody for like enjoying that or whatever. But let's see. So when it came to when Pokemon, because we mentioned earlier that Taj did Pokemon for like the first 5 seasons, and I know that there were a couple of other shows under 4Kids' wing that were done at Taj. But do you recall what the transition was like when you guys did everything in-house at 4Kids? Like when you split from Taj and a couple of you Taj guys moved over to 4Kids?
You know, I've just, as I said, starting the original Pokemon podcast, I've just started to look at some of the boards and some of the things, mostly to verify what I'm about to say in a specific podcast. And, you know, it's a sensitive topic, and in my most recent thing, I mention you. In fact, I don't know if you heard it, but I've just received an emergency Pokemon bulletin from Malik McLeod. Malik wrote me an email. I've been in touch with him about the podcast, and he has created a YouTube video called The Full Story. It's about the making of the English dub of Pokemon. I can't say I agree with the title of Malik's video. A short video like that could hardly tell the full story, and there may be reasons why many of the people involved with the original dub do not want to tell the full story or may not know the full story, and I will leave it at that. But Malik tells me that I said something in episode 2 of my podcast that is untrue. Well, he didn't exactly say that. In episode 2, I claimed that, to my knowledge, Roger Parsons, aside from the voice of Pikachu, the original Japanese actress, was the only person who has appeared in every episode of the series. Malik has informed me that Roger was not the voice of the narrator in seasons 6, 7, and 8 of the series, and I double-checked this. Malik told me that Mike Pollock, with whom I've worked many, many times, and Mike is a great guy, and I checked with Mike, and he confirmed this. The reasons for that change and the circumstances surrounding that change are shrouded in, well, they won't exactly say mystery, but they're certainly shrouded. And who am I to lift a shroud? Ooh, that's creepy. But on with the show. Yeah, and I say that, you know, I just watched a video of yours called the full story of the Pokemon.
The Pokemon.
Yeah.
I did what I could. It might not be the full
No.
story.
Yeah, no. Let me finish. So I said, you know what? I like what he did, but you know, no one is ever going to get the full story.
Yeah.
For the following reason. Of course, you called it. It's not a knock at all.
No,
Listen
it's
to
just
the
to get
podcast.
clicks, because I mean, I put a lot of
And
work
the thing
into
is, I know you did, and it was really great, and I learned a lot from it.
Wow.
The thing is that, you know, it's a sensitive topic, and I heard how you say, oh, somebody called a lawyer, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, there are people who are still involved with the show that were involved with the show then.
Right.
And here's what, from my perspective, what happened. We were working at Taj.
Right.
And Larry and I had Taj together. I mean, it was his company, but we were partners in this dubbing business. He did separate music business, and he also did certain animes that I was not involved with and did not profit from in any way. It weren't my type of thing.
Right.
So, what happened was, Pokemon was big, and I think they had probably gotten Yu-Gi-Oh then, and
yep.
And I think Norman said, you know, I want to hire you, meaning me, and to come and work here, to be an employee of 4Kids. And at first I was hesitant, but I'm always hesitant in everything, the beginning of any job. I was hesitant to do we want to start a company? I don't know. Do you think we should build a studio? It seems like I'm always like that.
Right.
But you know, it was for regular salary and matching the kind of money that I was making at Taj, plus benefits. But he wanted me to work on a new show, which was Kirby.
Right.
Because they were, you know, they figured they like it once, they love it twice. They'll convert all these shows into things and have, you know, whatever.
Right.
You probably know more about that. And so, but Larry didn't want to go, and my recollection is he didn't want me to go because he liked to be independent, and I like the independence too. I believe, I don't want to get too deeply into this because I don't want
yeah.
to stir up any hornets. That's
Yeah.
why you're never going to get the full story from
Right.
me or from anyone, because I have things that I will talk about, and there's certain things that I won't talk about because either it will hurt feelings or
Right.
it will alienate friends or friend adjacent type people, and there. And the other thing is with the actors, I mean, put yourself in their place.
Mm-hmm.
They can personally have hurts, grievances, whatever, rightly or wrongly.
Right.
I think a lot of them do have very legitimate grievances.
Yep.
But I was kind of out of it. Now, I'm not trying to absolve myself and wash my hands. Oh, I don't know what went on, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, I was hearing things, but I was already on to Kirby. And then the one after Kirby was
it Sonic?
Sonic.
Yeah.
It was Sonic X.
Yeah.
And so I had already did. So Larry stayed with Taj and continued doing Pokemon and Kathy Borland was the producer. I had nothing to do. What's making it a little bit difficult for me is to know exactly when I started and stopped on Pokemon was. Occasionally, Kathy and I had offices next to each other when we were working there, and sometimes they would get a little, they thought, oh, we're trying to think of a good title for this episode of Pokemon after I was gone.
Right.
And so I would say, what's it about? Or take a look at it or something, or, and I would throw a couple of things, and sometimes they'd take it and sometimes they wouldn't. So there are some times when I go through the list of Pokemon episodes now to try to figure out where I stopped. It's hard for me because I'm like, I kind of remember that. I think that's my title, but it could have been half a year or more after I worked on the show. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
right.
That's why I have to go through them and watch them and remember if I was involved with that. But the thing is, you'll never get the full story because people don't want to badmouth other people. Well, they want to, but they know they can't because they want to get other jobs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff about how Taj lost it, how 4Kids lost it, how other people, at other places did. Some people came back in, that kind of thing. It's a very twisted. I think it's a fraught thing, and I think there are a lot of hurt feelings. I think there are some angry feelings and resentful feelings, and from the little that I know and remember, I can understand that.
Yeah, totally.
I can understand that.
From what I when I spoke with Larry Juris about it, I was totally understanding about I can't say this, I can't say that, I won't go into this,
right?
And
there are many sides to every story.
Mm-hmm.
And, every story that we tell, as I said before, we're the star of our movie, and there are a lot of facets to it. And, So it's fraud. It's not that I want to avoid painful things or saying controversial things.
Yeah.
It's just that it was a long time ago. I don't exactly remember, and I wasn't exactly directly involved with it. After I went to 4Kids, I was on to Kirby.
Right.
And even though the people around me were working on Pokemon, and I would hear things, definitely, and I would hear from Larry, and I hear from Norman, whatever. After the first couple of years, it was, I kind of lost, and it's been, I've been out of 4Kids for many years, so.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I get that.
You're never going to find out. You're never going to. Maybe people will tell you on the side, but they'll be reluctant to do that too, like I am.
Yeah, definitely, and I totally understand. I understand where it all.
That's coming out in my book when I write the book.
There's a book.
Well, if I get right to the end, then I think that it'll be interesting. Maybe I'll put down what I know.
So sort of coming off of that, when let's see. So did you get to choose who succeeded you when you left the director chair for Pokemon, and do you ever recall coming back to voice old Pokemon like Psyduck?
No, Jim worked there on a regular basis, and from what I remember, Jim was the guy who went into direct to replace me.
Yeah.
There may have been other fill-in people while Taj was still doing it, while I was working at 4Kids, but I don't really remember if I did know, and I may never have known. I've read different things, whatever. And your second question was?
It was, so do you remember coming back to voice older Pokemon? Because there was like an episode that heavily featured a Psyduck like years and years after, and it sounded like you, but who really knows, Do
you remember what the episode was called or what it was about?
It was called Sitting Psyduck. It was an episode one of the last episodes during the 4Kids run in like season 8, it was just this girl who had like a Psyduck that was running away from home because it wanted to escape her like life of luxury, you know?
Uh-huh. Yeah, now that you say it, I have a probably false recovered memory of doing it, but I don't know. I'd have to go back and listen. And as I said, over the past few days, the last couple of days, even if I listened, it might be a combo, or Eric might have done it, or I don't remember it, but I'm not saying I didn't do it.
What Pokemon is that?
A Psyduck.
Let's see what Dexter has to say about you.
Psyduck, the duck Pokemon. Psyduck suffers frequent headaches and can exhibit mysterious attacks when they become especially intense.
It's possible. I think somewhere around that time is when individual episodes actually did do like unique cast lists, at least some of the time. So I might have to check the credits for that one. Maybe he'll show up under Roger K or something. So I'll have to see.
It's possible, but I don't have a memory one way or the other.
But it's kind of cool. Like when Pokemon went back to Taj during seasons 9 and 10, they used a lot of voice clips from like the bank that they had for older Pokemon. Like there was, I think you played Geodude or something like Geodude, Hitmontop, Psyduck. They used like your old voice clips, but you could tell for some Pokemon they only had a handful to pick from.
Those fake Poketchers started playing the sound of a Psyduck calling some attack move, and then Shinx ran off.
How did a Psyduck get in the Poketchers?
Psyduck, Psyduck, Psyduck. Psyduck, we're good to go. Psyduck, here. You owned every bit of this grub. Psyduck.
Thank you. Bye.
Come again.
I'm not even sure, because I think it was your video, the full story. I'm not even sure that I knew at the time that it had gone back to Taj.
No.
I don't remember it. I mean, maybe I did, but I don't have any memory of that.
Okay. Because you weren't working on it directly, so you
know why? I'll tell you why I was surprised, because you pointed out that I had said that Roger Parsons, aside from the voice of Pikachu, was the only one who was in all the episodes, and you said, well, no, 6 through 8 he was not. It was Mike Pollock, and I contacted Mike, and Mike got back to me. He says, no, that's true. I did it at Taj, and I was like, oh, really? They did it after 6? If I had known it, I didn't remember it. I'll put it that way.
Huh. Interesting. But so for like seasons 9 and 10 it was done at Taj, and for older Pokemon like the ones you did and maybe some Pokemon voiced by Eric Stewart or something, they still had things in the bank for those ones. But then like with season 11 it went to another studio where it stayed for like a decade, and they got like new voiceovers for older Pokemon after that. On your IMDb
I do
page.
remember there was stuff about the people who went to work on the new Pokemon. Now I'm remembering that there was stuff that when people who had worked on the original Pokemon were let go, were I guess they weren't rehired by the new company in New York, that they couldn't work at 4Kids. If they worked on the new one, they could. There was something, I think, I have a couple of names in mind, but I don't want to say them. Yeah,
that's what I heard. From some people, they said there was some non-compete clause for 2 years. That's one of the rumors, or what some people will tell you.
Maybe. I don't remember now. And you can understand that, because that's kind of,
I mean,
from 4Kids is like, well, that's what happened. They another company, I mean, it was Nintendo's property. I mean, but when I believe the contract ran out with 4Kids, I believe.
Yes.
And so they changed it. But the thing is, when you write these clauses, it's like, well, yeah, you don't want some other company coming in, lowballing it, and then taking all the actors, and then you're left with, high and dry, sort of.
Yeah.
But then what happens is, I guess the actors are left high and dry. It's complicated.
Yeah,
I'm glad I wasn't involved with that. I'll put it that way, from what I've heard.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, now all these years later, Megan Hollingshead is Nurse Joy again in the new Pokemon show.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that. Maybe she said that. Gee, that's great.
Yeah,
that's good.
because it's like now the show is done in New York and Los Angeles, but a good thing coming from that is like people who were on the original Pokemon who have since like moved to LA can actually come back and do things that they couldn't do before, or continue roles that otherwise would have been replaced with other actors. Like,
well, give them my address because I can still do duck.
I'd love that. If Blaine ever shows up ever again.
Blaine, I could play him physically. Look, I got the hairline.
Yeah, definitely.
I had it then too.
You just need to find a wig. And
I just need to find a wig. Oh, there's one around here someplace.
But seriously, that's not even a joke, because there's like some people who haven't been on Pokemon in years. Like a character, like the more recent series that's coming out right now, they're introducing a lot of old characters. And there was a character that was played by do you remember Dan Green, right?
Sure, yes.
Yeah, like he played a gym leader during Johto, I think during your time on the show, and he had since come back to Pokemon in the years since, but when the character's name was Chuck, he was like a really cool dude, and when he showed up, I was like, are they going to get Dan Green to play him? And then when I hear the episode, it's like, oh my God, they actually got him for Chuck.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's good.
So it's
I
like, you
think
never
it's good
know.
for the fans and it's good for the people, you know. But, you know, everybody's hustling for work and so, you know, whatever.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would love to see Blaine come back, and I would love to hear you come back as Blaine if the day
I think
comes.
the live-action film is the way to go.
That'd be great.
The Blaine story.
Yeah, because, like, I actually saw there's a new Sonic the Hedgehog movie out, and
yes.
I saw it yesterday, and people are wondering, Jim Carrey is like, oh, I think I might retire unless the script is good, and people are like, if he does retire, who are they going to get? And Mike Pollock, who's been playing Dr. Eggman in Sonic media since Sonic X to this day, he's like, you know, my body works. I could totally do it. I'm
Mike
right
is
here.
great. Oh, I would be so happy for Mike. Mike is a great guy. I love Mike.
That'd be so awesome. Yeah, from what I've seen, he's so fun and jovial, and he's got a dry, sarcastic wit about him. Just from seeing his tweets on Twitter, I would love to see him.
And he's great to work with, and he's super talented. What's not to like?
Oh, yeah. Like, I would love to get to speak with him one day.
He'll do it. He'll do it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So let's see. Speaking of voice direction, because that's another avenue that I would like to get into, but haven't really done it myself yet. But real quick, like, any tips on being a good voice director and how to get the best performers out of your actors? Best performance, I should say.
Well, I mean, a lot of people would say, who wants his advice? The way he directs. It's like, whatever he says, do the opposite, maybe.
Come on now.
The thing is, yeah, I mean, I don't like advice because, you know, advice, I think, is, you know, based on the person giving it, that person's particular, very specific, particular experiences.
I get
and
that.
either they tell you if something was bad, they tell you don't do that. If it was good for them, do that. If they went to film school and they were a big success, they say, you know, I'd say go to film school. If they hated film school, they say film school is a waste. But it may not be for you. I don't know. I know there are people out there who give courses and stuff. I don't know. I lucked into everything. I hope what I did help the act. You know, I think I was the type of director, and this sounds very pretentious. Voice director, you know, the thing is, I was the type of director that I think actors do not like. Most actors don't like, because having worked on the scripts and spent a lot of time on those scripts, you know, line by line, hour, you know, sometimes it's taken over an hour to get a lot, you know, trying to, and then you go back to it, that kind of thing. I'm not belly aching. It was a great job, but so, because I had that thing, and because I would, you know, actually say the lines out loud when I had my little, you know, VHS machine there to make sure that what I was writing would fit in to the lines, I had what the lines were. I had what I felt the line should sound like already in my head.
Right.
And so when it didn't match or surpass that, I would always have them do it again.
Right.
And it was almost like line readings. And in the early times, I did line readings. I learned not to do that after about 20 years. No, it wasn't 20 years, but, you know, because I heard it in a certain way. And I think there are certain directors and even, you know, live action directors who visualize it. There are other directors who are like, they want to see what happens. To me, we didn't have time for that.
Right.
And the thing was, for the actors, they were at a disadvantage too, because most of the time they didn't have the whole script, and even if they did, they either didn't have the time or the inclination to read the whole script to know what, to make notes.
And
yeah.
like that.
So, and I tried to do that. I would put notes in the script to what lines to emphasize, because I felt that because they didn't have the whole context of the show, and I did, and there are many times there's many ways to say a line. Open that door.
Mm-hmm.
Open that door. Open that door. Open that door. I mean, unless you have someone to direct you and you're just told to say that line, you don't know. But that's hard. Some actors like to be told exactly how it should sound. How I wanted it to sound. Some actors, that was frustrating for and could be difficult for.
Right.
And sometimes actors would come up with something that was even better, different and better, and I liked better than what I imagined.
Right.
But, there were such time constraints, and also matching those lip flap constraints was tough too. So it was it was a very specific kind of job.
Mm-hmm. But I think you did pretty good.
Thank you. There's one. Hey, I'm keeping account. Let me write that down.
Kirby, that's a name you should know. Kirby, he's the star of the show. He's more than you think, he's got maximum pink. Kirby's the one. He comes right back at ya. He comes right back at ya. Give it all that you got, take your very best shot. He'll send it right back at you for sure, yeah.
So let's see, now I wanted to devote like a little segment to some of your other works, like Kirby and Sonic X. Do you remember anything specific about those? Like, you don't have to make something up just for me, but if you don't remember anything specific about those, that's cool.
Sorry, let me just cough here.
Okay.
Coughing. No,
I knew it. That's
anyway,
That's why you're
I'll have to
coughing.
clean that off. Kirby, I thought was, I liked Kirby. I thought it was a better of the two shows. I think Kirby was probably, I don't know what the ratings were. I can't remember. The syndication was going through a whole big change at that time, and kids cable TV was becoming so much stronger with Nickelodeon, and Disney, I think, was popping in there too, and Cartoon Network was in there as well, I think. And so, the numbers kept going down and down and down over the years. I thought Kirby was a good show. Sonic, I didn't think it was a great show. I enjoyed, let's put it this way, I enjoyed working on Kirby. I thought the stories were better, and Sonic was, okay.
That's honestly the general consensus, actually.
Oh, is that right?
Like, most people, when most people look at Sonic X, like, there are things to enjoy about Sonic X, but most people say whether you watch it, like, subtitled or dubbed, like, it's okay for the most part, but... Yeah, everyone looks back fondly on Kirby, especially the English dub.
Really?
There are so many, like, quotable quotes and quips. I always liked Kirby. That was my first introduction to Kirby before I even touched a video game.
Oh, is that right? Yeah,
But,
Kirby, I thought Kirby was a good show, and it was, Tiff and Tough, and Meta Knight, and that was Eric, of course. But
yes, of course.
I thought the performance was good. Maddie was in that too, and
Ted Lewis was DDD and Escargoon.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Everybody, if you go online and you look up like King DDD, everybody remembers King DDD and his performance from that show, because he had like a foghorn.
Yeah, it's exactly what it was. Because if you look at DDD, kind of looks like that in a way. Yeah. It was that was good. And you know who else was good in that? And I remember them doing, I was saying, like maybe we can get like a fiddle thing. It was Takari. The little bird.
Yes.
Takari.
Yeah, the little bird.
Yeah. Who was the actor? Was that David Lapkin, or who was that? No.
Maybe.
No, it wasn't.
Let's see. I can do a quick Google search. It might be wrong, but maybe the name will.
I'll remember if it is. Oh, I can picture him. I'm so sorry. And he was... He was good. and the music, John Siegler had hired a guy, I guess it was John Siegler, and had hired a guy, and he did a fiddle, a lot of these like stings, these little things that's always underscored to Corey.
Holler all you want. He's too dumb to answer you.
Hey, Tough, maybe if we could see further, we could find Kirby. Takori, fly up there and look around.
All right, but don't get your hopes up. Kirby, where are you? Well, guess he must be gone for good. Let's go home.
You might not care about Kirby, but we do, and we're not going home till we find him. Kirby ought to be easy to see. The pink stands out. Come on, let's just find him before it gets dark. Yeah.
This should have been a picnic, not a search party.
Who do you have?
It said a guy called Kevin Kolak. Does that ring a
That's
bell?
Kevin Kolak. Yes. That's true. Kevin Kolak. Yeah. That was a good show. I kind of enjoyed that. I thought the stories were good. Not on Sonic, not so much. I didn't enjoy that as much. And then I worked on a show, F-Zero.
You worked on F-Zero.
Yeah.
I spoke to just this last year. Within the last year, I've gotten to know David Ghosty Wills. You know him, right?
Oh, I love Dave Wills.
He's such a great guy.
He is a great guy. He is a great guy.
I listen to his show like every single week.
I accidentally several years ago now. I'm in the car and I'm tuning through the thing to get something to listen. Like this guy sounds familiar to me. Like where am I? Oh gosh! And then Ghosty, and it's like, and I think I even looked up like who's. And here it is, Dave Wills is over at what is it? Fairleigh Dickinson?
Yeah, Fairleigh Dickinson University at WFDU.
Is he still on? I think he's on the weekends,
He's still
right?
on every Sunday afternoon.
He's great. I love Dave Wills.
I tune into that show I'm not even like a big radio dude, but I tune in just to listen to him talk and play his music. I call in requests, but for F-Zero, you worked on F-Zero. I spoke with him about it, and he remembers he played Captain Falcon, who is actually like a big character in Nintendo, like in the video games. Like
right.
There's a game called Smash Brothers where your voice is actually in there as Snorlax or somebody.
Is that right?
Yeah, but there's a character called Captain Falcon. Everybody knows Captain Falcon.
Falcon.
When they go back and find out F-Zero had an anime, they find out it was cut short. Do you remember anything about F-Zero?
Yeah, I think it wasn't a ton of episodes. Maybe it was
like 15 or something.
Was it only 15? I thought it maybe was 26, but
maybe.
Yeah. It was. I vaguely remember that there was some mystery about. It was kind of an odd mix of a drama and a comedy, and
yeah,
it was a racing show, and
in the future, like 100 years set in the future.
Yeah, and there were, I can't remember. There were other. Obviously there were other characters. It was short and it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
If I started watching the episodes, I would remember more. I remember Dave was in it, but
yeah. See, that show had 52 episodes in Japan, and when you guys brought it over, there was like a tie-in video game, but the F-Zero series as a whole hasn't had anything done with it since you guys did that adaptation.
I guess I drove it into the ground.
No, that's what David Wills says. He said his bad luck is why F-Zero is dead. It's like, because they hired me on the show and my bad luck.
No, not at all. Dave Wills is great. I'm just trying to think what other shows I worked with him on. I can't remember right now. But
did you ever work on Viva Pinata at all?
I had nothing to do with Viva Pinata.
So let's see, because according to the internet, which is, again, never wrong, you were creative director for 4Kids at a point? Was that true?
Well, yeah, that's true. What happened was F-Zero, and then there was, I worked on, Chaotic.
Enter a realm where 4 young adventurers are pitted against gargantuan insects, lizards, and gargoyles in a game of epic proportions. No, this is not your imagination. This is Chaotic. Get in on the TV show where your fate is in your hands.
Catch Chaotic this Saturday morning at 9 on the CW for Kids.
Everyone's talking about it. Shouldn't you be watching too?
Yes.
Chaotic was the big was
That
the
was
was
big.
the- was a, well, I know it was big. It was a big job for us because it was a from scratch show. It was based on these cards that were given away in Scandinavia. A guy named Martin Ralph was the creator of it, and he also created a show which I thought was that was in Scandinavia that was like a. You got to look him up on the internet. It was like a sort of a reality show, but it was battling. But I thought I can't remember what it was right now because it's a long time ago. But
Right.
the concept, I thought that was great. And so he had created these cards, and it was kind of the relationship. Martin and I and Norman, I'm not sure. You know what it was like? We were adopted his baby.
Yeah.
Against his will, sort of. I
Yeah.
mean, he was sort of involved, and we changed it. And Norman and I came up with the backstory of what it was. And the first year we did it as a flash animation, and it was very fraught. It was not a good. And then I think we had 2 more seasons.
Yeah, and those
two
look
more
more anime-like.
Yeah, it was more anime-like, and yeah, I mean. The thing is, I think it would have gone to some different, and then there was another company involved, and the thing was that the CEO, I think, of 4Kids,
Alfred Kahn? Was
Al
that the
Kahn.
guy?
I think what happened was, what was happening was that I think they lost Pokemon. I can't remember the timetable exactly, but cards and shows were big, and they thought, well, instead of having to rely on Yu-Gi-Oh and other people. And these other franchises, why don't we create our own franchise? And do a card thing? And it was a good idea. Whether this was the right property or not, or whether it was too late to get into the collectible and playable RPG game. Maybe it was also a combination of that. It was a combination of the rise of kids cable. The kind of decaying of syndication, where syndicators no longer wanted to take these kind of shows. They infomercials were big, and getting paid directly from those advertisers, percent that was attractive to them too. There were when you had to have. There would be a broadcast standards and practices issue. Kids TV was really just migrating to cable because it was too big of a headache for everybody in broadcast. And I think the horse had left the barn on that one. It could have been the quality of the show, or just it wasn't compelling enough. But I think that the gag we came up with of the players transforming into the characters, I thought that was good. I thought that I liked that we came up with that.
Yeah.
And we had plans for the future of what it was going to be, and it was kind of interesting in the battle drones. I think were they called battle drones, or I can't remember. And then after that, there was we had a show called Tai Chi Chasers.
Yep.
Which I really liked the story of, because I knew where it was going. The second I kind of liked that, but it wasn't popular. And then all the ratings were down. It was just and then what happened was, the marketing people, almost on a weekly basis, Norman had left at that time, I think. And so on a weekly basis, well, let's put this at 8:30, because then they always felt like switching the time slots was going to be better, to counter program against other things, like SpongeBob and all this kind of stuff. I always kind of felt like leave it where it was, so that people would at least know where to find it. The few people who wanted to find it, don't make it hard for them. But they had their reasons too, and so then after that they wanted to brand the network. They brought a marketing person in, and so it became Toonzai.
Yep.
And we had Shoji. I
had a
book. There's a book here.
You have a book?
Kamishibai. So it was these men, almost always men. I found this fascinating.
Yeah.
That in Japan, mostly, before the war and after the war, I guess, and they would go on a bicycle to a park, and they had a little frame, and they would have these hand illustrated cards of stories. They would be superhero stories, they would be history stories, cartoon stories, and they had this little device, I can't remember, it was like a clacker that would call kids. The kids would run over, they'd do the stories with like very simple sound effects, and they would narrate the stories and pull the cards out. It was like a primitive, like an animatic, like pre-TV. TV kind of knocked them out. There's still a couple of practitioners left in Japan. So I said, well, how about if we have like a host and it's Shoji, because we have all Japanese shows. And he did this thing, and I did the voice for I'm Shoji.
You're
whatever
Shoji.
It was. Yes.
Oh my God, the mystery has been solved.
Yeah, and we.
That's Tai Chi Chasers, the new Toonzai series that premieres 2 weeks from tomorrow, Saturday morning, September 17th at 11. Don't forget to tell your friends. And you can find out more about Tai Chi Chasers and all the CW4Kids Toonzai series at CW4Kids.com. Check it out. I'm Shoji. Watch for me every Saturday morning on the CW4Kids. That guy gives me a headache.
We animated that in-house,
and
he would do like the wraparounds, and then we also did some sponsored things with him. There would be like these little interstitial sponsored things where it would be a question and answer. I think I wrote those too.
This is a CW4Kids Toonzai Fitness Fact with your host Shojai.
The name's Shoji. Everybody knows exercise is important, right? But how much exercise should you get every day? A, 10 minutes, B, 20 minutes, or C, 60 minutes. I'll be back with the answer after this. If you're a kid, you should get C, 60 minutes of exercise every day. So take a hike, ride a bike, skateboard, play soccer, do push-ups. Not all at once, but get active every day. It'll help you stay healthy.
But, at that point, we were doing like Christmas promos and promos for Yu-Gi-Oh! That's what the what the creative director was. At that time, it was in real transition. They were getting sued by the Yu-Gi-Oh! Company, and because Pokemon had gotten out, and they kind of wanted the same thing, and they said that 4Kids had cheated them, and went through millions and millions of dollars of legal fees, from what I understand. 4Kids won, but they had to go into bankruptcy to protect their assets before this case was settled. And then after it was settled, Haim Saban came in and bought the broadcast rights, and it was just a whole big mess as far as I was concerned. But 4Kids continues to this day.
Yeah.
As far as I know, they're still doing well. It's 4K Media now.
It's actually been rebranded to Konami Cross Media NY as of like 2020, but they're still doing Yu-Gi-Oh stuff.
Yeah, Shane,
like
and I did some freelance. I did freelance some scripts for Yu-Gi-Oh for several years. I don't know what they're doing now. I'm not really in contact with a couple of people I'm in contact with, but nobody involved with that. And so that's the story.
But yeah, that's awesome, because like I was one of the few people, I guess I was the only person around. I was still watching like the CW4Kids and Toonzai. I was maybe like 15, 16, but I enjoyed watching Yu-Gi-Oh!, Dragon Ball.
You were the one.
Sekai.
You were the one who was watching.
Me. I was keeping that thing alive as it was going. And yeah, like when you said you were Shoji, like I said, like there was like this long thing where I was like, who is Shoji? There's like this little corner of the internet where it's like, we need to find out who this Shoji guy is. Some people thought it was
and the thing
Stewart.
is, I think as I remember, I called him Shoji because it's Shoji is a type of screen, and we figured, it's on the screen, it's TV, and so Shoji it's kind of a it's a Japanese. So that was the other, and that's why he was. Yeah, that's why he was called. But these kamishibai are really. You should look it up on the internet. So you're doing a lot of things. It's really interesting.
Cool.
They would rent these libraries of these stories, these, and then they would sell candy. They would sell candy to the kids. That's how they made money. And it's a really cool tradition. I thought it was a very interesting thing. And the original kamishibai, panels, the pictures are very collectible now, because a lot of it is real fantastic art, like comic art, very sort of I don't want to say primitive, but
it's got an old rustic charm to it almost.
I think so,
yeah.
Did you know that hedgehogs are not naturally blue, and they don't even run fast? What the what? And get this, hedgehogs can't talk. What the what? Stick around for more What the what? And watch Sonic X every Saturday morning right here on the CW4 Kids Toonzai, where epic anime rules.
But that's awesome. Like, I knew there was some sort of story behind like Toonzai and Shoji, but I never thought I would find it here. I was hoping I would, but like, wow, because I had a whole thing. It's like, who voiced Shoji? Was it Eric Stewart? Was it this person? Was it Mark Thompson?
No.
It's like, it was you. That was so cool.
I hired myself. It was another case of me hiring myself.
Mm-hmm. It was probably cheaper to do, or did like you
yeah,
right
I didn't
there.
get paid extra for it. Yeah, so I figured I had to earn my keep.
Well, again, I appreciate all the work that you did, and like even up to like later on into Yu-Gi-Oh! Like I remember seeing your name in the credits of like Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, which is fairly recent.
Yeah, that's right. Arc 5, and then
you didn't do anything afterwards. Like
what was the one after Arc 5?
It's called Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains. That's the 6th one.
Yeah, no, I didn't work on that. They
No.
dropped me after that. Yeah.
Real quick about Kirby again. Do you remember a character called Knuckle Joe? Did you voice Knuckle Joe?
Yeah, I was Knuckle Joe.
Ah, okay. That's good.
Another voice, another instance of me casting myself.
That's good. I like
Knuckle Joe. It was like it was kind of like a tough cross between, as I remember it. I'd have to listen to it again, like Joe Pesci and Jimmy Cagney. You know, he's a tough little guy.
Don't let that fool you. My name's Knuckle Joe. Where's the Star Warrior? I know he's here. Where is he? All of yous are hiding Kirby from me.
And why exactly do you want to meet with Kirby?
I don't want to meet him. I want to fight him.
Why is that?
He destroyed my father. He's evil. And he's dangerous. I'm gonna find you, Kirby, and do to you what you did to my father.
Well, that was... I'm glad I can finally put those rumors to rest and verify a lot of things. Cause
That's until somebody else says that they did it
like,
instead of me.
I
And
was
maybe they're
Knuckle
right.
Joe.
No, I
How
don't
dare
think so. I think I'm guilty on both counts. Yeah.
Oh, well, I think that pretty much covers most of the questions that we got here. Is there any... let's see, because I was going to ask a couple other Pokemon voice questions, but again, it's more a case of, I don't know, was I this person? Was I this person? I'm sure on your podcast, Original Pokemon, you'll go into it a
Mention
bit
that
more.
a lot. Yeah.
If you haven't noticed, we're plugging something here, and I mean, we've already talked about it, but is there anything that I didn't ask you that you wanted me to ask?
I can't think of anything, and luckily, if there was anything that you didn't ask me, it was something that I didn't want you to ask me, so I'm grateful for that.
Okay, that's good. Well, let's see. So, yeah, I think that pretty much covers anything, but do you have any closing thoughts, anything like you want to tell people that you're up to now, anything you want to plug?
The only thing is that I'm doing this podcast, for better or worse, called Original Pokemon, and you can find that just about anywhere that you listen to podcasts. And so if you want to write to me at originalpokemon@gmail.com and yell at me or it's unlikely you'll want to compliment me, but if that would happen, that would be nice too. But the other thing I just wanted to say is that I enjoyed the video that I saw of yours called The Full Story. It gave me a lot of information, brought back some memories, and it gave me new information that I hadn't known. So thank you for that, Malik. And I think you got a great voice and a future ahead of you. I think you really got that young juvenile voice in a good way. The juvenile, not juvenile,
not like juvenile. Just
right.
just juvenile.
Yeah. So get your auditions out there, and I hope to see you on a wiki page very soon. And I hope that you'll have other actors claiming they're you. No, I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding.
That I think that'd be sort of an honor, a sort of a blessing in disguise.
It is kind of, yeah.
Well,
and so that you can misremember all the things that you did, just like I have.
I'm gonna write this stuff down. I'm gonna write down like, okay, I interviewed this guy today at 1 o'clock, and we did this.
Definitely do it. Definitely do it. I wish
everything.
I had done something like that. Yeah.
Because you never know. Like I have like my YouTube stuff. I have a blog where I go into like depth of like, here's what I was thinking when I was making this video. It might not have a lot of crazy information about it, but at least it's chronicled somewhere. And it's like when I go back to it.
Right, and it'll sort of tickle your memory and kind of tweak things. Like, oh yeah, I do remember that.
I did do that. That did suck, didn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to say goodbye to the audience before, so I'll just say that thanks everybody for watching and for listening, I suppose. And yeah, it has been great to speak with you. And yeah, you are welcome back anytime. If I ever get the audacity to try this again, you are welcome back on this show or show, whatever this is, anytime. Maybe we could do like a round 2, like maybe when you get 50 episodes into your podcast.
Maybe when I start remembering other things, and I'll give you all my false recovered memories and maybe a couple of true recovered memories too.
Well, I'll be there to help. That's what
Thanks,
I'm here
Malik.
to do.
Hey, it's great talking to you. I really, really enjoyed it.
It's been fantastic. And can you do a little Psyduck to close us out for the listeners at home?
You mean something like
Psyduck, Psyduck, Psy?
That'll work. Hey there, everybody. Thanks for watching, or listening, rather. I hope you enjoyed. Once again, I want to give a very special thanks to Michael Haigney for taking the time out of his day to get to chat with me. Very nice getting to know you, my good man. If you want to hear more from him, be sure to check out his original Pokéman podcast, available on pretty much every platform I can think of. I'll put some links in the description on where you can find it. And be sure to give this video a like, share with a friend, subscribe, check out my social media pages, Patreon, blah, 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 all that good stuff I always ramble on about. Hopefully I'll do even more interviews outside Pokemonth because these are just too much fun to do once a year. And with all that said, I'll see you all next time for another installment in this month of Pokemon. Catch you later!
Say,